So Nathan, this is a very steep site. What were some of the issues that you addressed when you considered building here?
Yeah, we obviously like the steep site and for the view as well, but we're also trying not to excavate down it as much to try and minimise our costs as well. The design was that it was a pole construction, and so doing piers instead of footings and brickwork and getting the floor up early so that we could work off a flat platform, the construction became a lot easier instead of having to work off a steep sloping site. Why
didn't you use a split level slab on this site?
Because of the steepness of the site, we would have probably saved around about $15,000 in site costs. Because of the excavation required to get a slab down on the ground and the retaining work required to keep the dirt away from the existing house would have been too costly.
Why do builders often use a split level slab?
If you were doing it on a relatively level site, slab and timber floor are around about the same sort of cost. But when you get on a site like this, it's way too expensive to try and do slabs because of the piering involved. Like, you can get the dirt level, but then you've got to pier down to rock, in this case rock. Whereas with this sort of construction, all we'd have to do is pier down where the poles are, and then you build straight off at that point. You know, there's no more excavation involved.
So what about masonry? It's a typical choice, but you didn't use it on this house.
No, we haven't used it in this home. Would have worked for the fire rating, but it hasn't. We chose not to this time because of the amount of steel work that would have been required to maintain the elevated look of the project, and to carry the weight of the brickwork, it would have taken away from the look of the project. So we've tried to maintain a lightweight construction and gone for a different profile.
Architect Colin Irwin is with me now, who was instrumental in choosing many of the materials used on the home. So Colin, can you tell me what happens when heavy wall and floor systems are used?
That type of construction has an unfortunate impact on the site. It interferes with the natural groundwater flows, and we are trying to work with the site, not against it, particularly on steeper sites where surface runoff becomes a big issue. We're trying to get the contours to fit around the house and to minimise the disturbance to the ground levels.
So this was light on the earth. What about the wallet?
It was a very efficient house to build from a construction point of view. What we're trying to do is minimise the amount of contact that it actually had with the earth, thereby having a very lightweight construction. We minimise the amount of excavation, which in turn can be expensive, not just in the heavy equipment you've got to use, but then to rectify the ground levels underneath the building. We work with the contours, touch the ground very lightly only at a few points, and then able to get a very lightweight construction over the top of that.
Okay, these things minimise construction costs, but what about the running costs of this house?
We managed in the design to get a very efficient, energy efficient design that incorporates the lightweight construction with heavily insulated walls, roof, floors, using high performance glass, low E glass, gives a very efficient fabric to the outside of the building, and thereby reducing running costs. We're also incorporating flow-through ventilation through the building, a very sensible northern aspect to maximise solar gain during winter, and enables the shading of the windows to be more easily achieved.
This is classed as a bushfire zone, so what are some of the things that you designed into the home to comply?
Yes, this is a bushfire area, and the design of the external cladding materials had to be very carefully chosen. This particular site had different ratings on different facades, and in some areas we were able to use other products that weren't non-combustible. However, the majority of the cladding is the non-combustible cladding material.
You did some other things as well around the house.
We did. There are other design aspects we had to consider in a bushfire area. One of them was to incorporate a large amount of water storage capacity under the building, and another is to make sure that there is enough site clearing around the building to protect it from ember attack.
Are you pleased with the result?
We are very happy with the result, particularly because we're able to work with both the client and the builder at the one time, and formed a very strong relationship, and that gave a very good product at the end.